analogy there, Joe. Can I just, I suppose, let me try and sum up a little bit from what we've listened to so far. Essentially, NTA and Irish Rail are essentially saying that they thought they were buying a generic project and you've ended up being involved in a software development project, that you were buying something that you thought was reasonably off the shelf, and in the end you've been involved in a sort of speculative project where they've developed the software, and at the end of it all there's nothing to show for it.
I can't disagree with how you've summarised it. As we said,
like
we believe we were buying 2.0 and it was then evolving to 3.0, and they're still in development.
Yeah, and Da Vinci, far from being a masterpiece, has ended up basically being a bag of paint with no painting. So look, I want to, because that's fine, that's your case. But then the question is, how did we get to this for so long? And how did someone like the Public Accounts Committee and the Controller and Auditor General not know before that? So let me put some questions. There was a lot of emphasis in terms of Lithuania. Am I correct in saying that while Indra were involved in many deployments, they were mostly single high-speed rail projects, simpler projects, that Lithuania was significant because it was the first kind of national scheme? Is that correct?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, so that's why that was significant. Was it known that that project was delayed when the contract was awarded?
Yes, they had completed the project a year later than the original contract, but they had completed the project, albeit a year later.
And did that delay form part of the tendering process?
It was assessed as part of the pre-qualification process.
Okay. So within, I think, a number of months, by Q3 in 2020, you were already raising red flags and you had concerns about the programme delays. Is that correct?
Yes, we had concerns because of the fact that they were moving to this version 3 of the product.
Yeah. At that point, was any contact made with the unsuccessful bidder?
No, not that I'm aware of. I wasn't here at the time, but I don't believe.
Can I ask the NTA that? Are you aware of any contact being made with the unsuccessful bidder after the contract is made?
No.
So is it correct to say that at no time were there any proposals put to the unsuccessful bidder to try and partner with the successful bidder in order to deliver the project?
No.
Mr. Cregan?
I'm not aware of any, no.
Okay. So the expectation was that you, at that point, while you had concerns, you had confidence that they would be able to deliver the project. So then, based on the reassurance and commitments given to us by okay. So then let me take you through each phase. So like the baseline was reset on 4 occasions, I think. Deputy Neville has gone through, I think, a very useful analogy of as each year you're getting amounts of 10 and 15 million euro. Talk us through the process of how that gets approved each year. How at the end, what's the mechanism or the points where things are open that you get to review work done and you approve spending to continue?
Yeah, so is this on relation to the contract or in relation to the financial statements?
The contract.
Oh, the contract. So if we could just talk about 22...
Who signs off on the work and who agrees that the next plan of work?
Well, we do, the Irish Rail do as the client team.
Yeah, but talk me through that.
But in terms of reset, so if I can speak about commercial reset, number 1, I came into my role in September 22. So the project was over 2 years old at that stage. I encountered the project and the project team working with Indra with serious concerns now where they were talking about the project sliding up to 2 years off programme. Various debates going on around what the cause and issues were. And one of the actions that I took with the teams was to say, we need to arrest this. This is at large. We need to put it under control. So we went into a dialogue with Indra for 3 months, culminating in reset number 1, which added 5 months to the completion programme, June 24th.
And costs.
And there was an update to the target price.
And am I correct in saying that was described as a charge on the contractor's account? Am I correct?
No, it's the target price. So we changed the target price by 8%.
Okay.
With that. We had a 5-month extension of time, so we were still getting the project delivered by the end of 24. The benefits of doing that was it took a project that was at large, where people were not operating to the original programme. They couldn't give clarity when milestones would be achieved.
And on the review of baseline 1, were the NTA informed of that?
Oh yeah, just to clarify, so when we got to the point where we had something that we thought could be agreed between Indra and Iarnród Éireann, we brought that to the NTA before we executed it. We brought it to the NTA for their approval, and we didn't execute it until they granted us the approval in early.
And on that basis, Michelle, were you of the view that you were hopeful still at that point that the project could be delivered?
Yes, we received a proposal from the various proposals from Irish Rails, and each time we felt it was the right step to take.
Yeah, so baseline 1, baseline 2, baseline 3, baseline 4. By the time you get to baseline 4, you have a very low confidence in this project, Mr. Hendrick, at that point.
Can I just talk about the intermediate baseline? So in 2023, Indra, which they have a right to do under the contract, reset the programme, and they moved it out twice. So they moved the completion date from November 24 to March 25. And then at the end of 23, they moved it again to August 25, but that meant they were resetting to their account. In other words, we weren't adjusting the target price. We weren't resetting the contract. They were just advising us that they were going to be later than what we agreed in commercial reset number 1. That was causing us concern because of slippage on it. We were obviously looking for them to recover and find ways to deal with it. But when we come into summer 2024, this is before we get to this commercial reset number 2, the serious concerns we have is that the software that we've now been given to test is way short of the expectation.
So by July 24, that's where we want to get to. By July 24, had you already considered at that point replacing Indra?
Yes.
Okay.
As a potential.
And am I correct in saying that you communicated that to the NTA?
Yes, verbally in a discussion with the NTA.
At that time, Ms. Shaw, where was the NTA in contract or in tendering process in regard to the ticket management system?
I think we would have been at the tendering stage. I can't swear to that, but certainly we were at the tendering stage.
I suppose the point I'm making is there an interplay here between the NTA being fearful of ending, when Irish Rail raised the concerns, were you fearful of ending the relationship with Indra on the train management system because you were about to embark in a relationship with the ticket management system?
Absolutely not.
It wasn't a consideration at all?
Never was a consideration.
Okay.
There were 2 separate projects, have to be managed appropriately in each case.
Ms. Considine, I suppose when you made the request to the NTA, or when you started to consider replacing Indra, did you feel you had the support of the NTA on that? Or do you feel that they were overly cautious?
Well, I suppose we made decisions at our board on the 22nd of June, and we took those forward to the NTA for approval. Our understanding is we required the approval of the NTA to implement those decisions.
But if the decision had been made in 2024 to end the contract with Indra at that point, do you believe we would have saved money as a result of that?
Well, I think it's very evident from the schedules here that we would have saved money if the contract had been terminated. But I can't comment. I wasn't here in 24. But obviously, if the contract was terminated
can you
at that
quantify
stage,
what might have been saved?
It's hypothetical. But just going back to Deputy Neville's comment, the 50 million write-down, a lot of the write-down is happening from 21 onwards. That's where the majority of the write-down is. And I suppose at summer 24, our expenditure is probably 25 million less than the 150 we're at the end of December. Yeah. So it's a hypothetical, right? But
yeah.
If you make a change at that time, you end up with a different.
Of course, yeah. But certainly in the multiple millions, we could have been saved
potentially.
Yeah. Can I come back to? I'll go back to the support contracts, because the idea that support contracts will be of equal value to the contract yourself, just a mind-blowing concept. Of the 30 million, would you be able to provide us a list of the support contracts and the value of those contracts?
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
I suppose the principal ones were Ricardo and Turris, and they were in the order of 28 million euro, including VAT.
Yeah.
What I should say, it's important.
So then what's remaining would be
smaller ancillaries.
Yeah.
But we can,
were there any other contracts that would be in the range of $1 million or $2 million?
There might be 1 or 2. Yes, I'd have to come back to you with the specifics.
And what role would they have held? What work would they have done?
Well, we brought in some projects, some extra project support staff to support us, and particularly the project director that we brought in October 2025 to help us because of the level of challenge.
And what was the value of the contract for the project director?
Well, he's a freelance organisation, so he's got a couple of staff with them, and I think there's a budget there of north of 2 million, but it's not expended, so it's probably a few $100,000 worth.
So in 2025, a project director was on a contract basis was appointed with a value of more than €2 million.
Well, based on a projected forecast of supporting the project for the coming years, because like we're not going to finish this project any time in the next 2 to 3 years on the base we're going, plus some additional support staff. So it's a provisional budget. It's not. It's not expended.
Like in a project that's 150 million may reach 250 million. The idea that only a number of months ago an additional 2 million was set aside while you were still dealing with the other issues. I imagine that would be concerning to members of the committee.
But I should say he's replacing other staff. So there's other staff who've been dialed out of the project from Ricardo, from Tourist. We've had staff changes on our side where people have left to take up other roles in other organisations, 1 or 2 in other roles within the business. So because of the length of the project, you're always going to have a certain level of churn. Staff are moving around in a capital projects function. So
can I one last question? Look, 50 million can be an impaired asset. It can be written off, but in reality, it's not written off because it's not available for other services. Like I just think of the Lewis Fingers in my own area. There's a price tag of 600 million on that. You're talking about 50 million, and perhaps more if the impairment grows. Like, just it's the scale of this is, I think, one of the biggest impairments of an asset that this committee has ever seen. I'm sure there are bigger, but it is very, very rare to see the scale of impairment. And I suppose, given that we've come to the last day of term here in the Dáil, I think there's a lot more that this committee needs to do on this issue.